It all started, as it often does in the digital age, with a blurry video, an alarming comment, a story that keeps circulating non-stop on social media. Suddenly, in neighborhoods in Virginia, people started talking about ice cream trucks driving through the streets at odd hours. They weren't the classic colorful vehicles that brought joy to children on sunny afternoons. These trucks would appear at dusk, playing children's music that, under the moonlight, was nothing short of unsettling. Alongside those images, stories mentioning missing children began to multiply. The numbers swelled by the minute, posts were shared non-stop, and the narrative became uniform. Was there a sinister pattern behind these vehicles? The rumor ignited the collective imagination, and soon it was no longer an isolated story, but a widespread fear that would soon bring panic. What was happening? Well, the reality is that nothing was happening. But let's not rush things. Many people came out to deny the matter. However, what few people tell you is that this viral story helped revive an old and chilling tale about a man from Virginia who actually claimed to have kidnapped more than 100 children in real life. Welcome to the case of the ice cream truck and the missing children of Virginia. We made this report because we wanted to share this news with you, but also because we wanted to offer you some thoughts about it. Of course, we took the opportunity to explore angles that aren't covered on other channels, and we look forward to your feedback. If you want us to keep making these short videos dedicated to the news, you can write Virales in the comments. If we get more than 500 people commenting Virales, we'll make another one. Remember that every Sunday we release specials over 40 minutes long on this same channel. Let's get started. If people are talking about Henry Lee Lucas again today, it's, as we said, because of the buzz from the posts that have flooded social media in recent months. Mysterious, colorful ice cream trucks that seemed charming by day became like something from a horror movie at night. When evening fell, word of mouth did the rest. A worried mother shared a warning on Facebook, a young man repeated it on TikTok, and another reinforced it on a neighborhood forum. Each post added drama, and soon the ice cream trucks became the protagonists of a conspiracy that portrayed them as vehicles. We're hunters of men of the pretenders ads where you could. Bloods appear on stage in the elephants, in the that while the rumors grew, there were no immediate statements to deny them. The absence of clear information was filled by popular imagination. Parents looked at any strange vehicle with suspicion. Children were warned not to approach trucks, even though in many cases they were legitimate merchants. That void was the perfect breeding ground for paranoia, and doubt further fueled the story of an alleged cover-up. There were even people who began to say that maybe it would be better if they organized and defended themselves on their own. There was speculation that there were already armed neighbors willing not to stand idly by. These were neighbors who were ready to defend the minors. It was obvious that at any moment, everything could get out of control. Realizing the situation couldn't continue, the police issued an official statement. Finally, the Virginia State Police intervened. Analysis of missing children reports for those states revealed a reality different from what was circulating online. It was true that there were minors reported as missing, but the number did not exceed the historical average. In fact, it was slightly lower. Most of the cases involved teenagers who had left of their own free will and were later found safe and sound. In many of these cases, the drama would be resolved within hours. Nothing in the official records pointed to a pattern of mass kidnappings, much less to ice cream trucks being involved in them. Some skeptics even went so far as to speculate that the presence of ice cream trucks was related to the promotion of an upcoming film. Advertising campaign? Just a simple misunderstanding? A wave of collective panic? It could have been anything. The only certainty was that everything was once again under control. However, no one breathed a sigh of relief. The rational explanation came when fear had already taken hold, and a portion of the population then remembered one of its most infamous citizens. a man who was born in Virginia but who had become known worldwide, a man who claimed that he had indeed made many children disappear. And that's how our story goes back to the beginning. Henry Lee Lucas was born in Virginia, in a home marked by abuse, poverty, and emotional instability. In just a few years, he displayed violent behavior and some detachment from reality. After multiple convictions, including for killing his mother, he spent much of his life in institutions and prisons. Otis Toole endured an even harsher childhood in Florida, facing early abuse, pyromaniac tendencies, and institutional abandonment. When he met Henry in a soup kitchen in 1976, he found not only companionship but also a complex relationship of dependence and joint criminal activity. Their union would mark the beginning of a partnership that would cause much more harm to those around them. This horrifying behavior would only come to light after Henry's arrest in Texas on a minor charge. It was 1983 and the man would confess in front of stunned police officers. Those arrested by Otis, supported by reports describing violent scenes and satanic cults. The confessions escalated to over 600 claimed murders. The accounts were so graphic that the authorities closed more than 200 cases, attributing them to the duo. The phenomenon reached its peak when Lucas allowed investigators to tour supposed crime scenes with him, while Toole supported the accounts with his own version. However, a government report in Texas revealed that most of those confessions were chronologically impossible to carry out. Lucas used to exaggerate in order to gain benefits inside the prison. Better food walks or special attention. Among the most disturbing stories, Lucas and Toole claimed to have kidnapped and murdered small children. One of the most notable cases was that of the boy Adam Walsh, 6 years old, who disappeared in a shopping mall in 1981. According to the Ruthless Men, criminals worked for a cult called the Hand of Death. They kidnapped children and handed them over to mysterious individuals who performed satanic rituals and made videos. SNAF. The statements were gruesome and left everyone in shock. Thousands of children go missing daily in the United States, so what was described could be true. Did those monsters really work for someone? The official version says no, that it was all lies made up to be the center of attention. Others believe there's something darker behind it. They exploited the fact that the men weren't mentally stable to make them seem delusional. Were Henry and Otis really kidnappers of innocence, or were they portrayed as liars? But he was the right-hand man of a cruel cult. Henry, the famous killer from Virginia, died in prison in 2001, taking the truth with him. Since then, from time to time, his story is revived and old mysteries resurface. His shadow hovers over his home state, and every time the clouds appear, it's impossible for his name not to be mentioned again. The ice cream truck became a symbol. Despite no evidence, the image of a vehicle covered in children's drawings driving at night became iconic. Rumors had turned it into the perfect villain, close and familiar yet unsettling in this new context. The same prototype that applies to the evil clown. It was a story too powerful to be taken down by statistics. Although there were no mass kidnappings, the numbers reflected a real problem. Every week, dozens of children and teenagers are reported missing in Virginia. As we said, many return, but some cases remain open. In that sense, it's important to point out that the spread of a false narrative only made it harder to focus on the real cases. While the rumors drew all the attention, the families who were truly searching for their children faced a scenario flooded with misinformation. To sum up, what happened in Virginia was not a case of mass kidnappings or a secret operation involving ice cream trucks. It was an example of how misinformation can transform the emotional landscape of an entire community. A community that chose to ignore how it made sense for ice cream vendors to drive around at night in summer to boost sales. Today, many professionals wonder if that community is being naive or just bored. Why do these things go viral so easily when they can be concretely disproven from one moment to the next? Why does this fascinate us? Is it morbid curiosity? Most likely, these kinds of stories are the new creepypastas, a continuation of primitive urban legends. Stories that aren't true, but often contain a kind of warning about the dangers of the world. Everything related to ice cream trucks reminds us that we have to be careful with strangers, especially those who might have immediate access to children. But it also warns us about something else. If we get used to not checking information and take everything as true, sooner or later we'll end up in the jaws of another huge monster, which is much less harmless than people think, the monster called fake news.